My husband brought his ex-wife to the birthday dinner I had spent 12 hours preparing. He had invited her 3 days earlier. He simply decided I did not deserve to know. Then his mother removed my name card, pulled out my chair and said, "Lauren gave Ryan a son. She belongs there more than you do." Ryan did not defend me. He looked at the woman who had saved his business, paid for his home, and buried a child he never helped her grieve. Then he said, "Don't make this embarrassing, Becca. Get another chair and bring Lauren the good silverware." So I untied my apron. I left his birthday cake untouched, walked out of the house I had bought before I met him, and did the one thing his family never believed I would do. I stopped coming back. 4 days later, a white envelope arrived. By sunset, the woman sitting in my chair was gone. My mother-in-law was screaming at her own son, and the Mercer family finally learned whose life they had been living. The dinner. The brisket had been resting for 22 minutes when headlights swept across the front windows. I remember the number because I had been watching the timer on the stove while trying not to notice that my husband had not entered the kitchen once all day. Ryan was turning 42. I had been awake since 5:30 that morning. The brisket had gone into the smoker before sunrise. His bourbon pecan cake was cooling beneath a glass cover. Cornbread sat beneath a blue cloth, and a pan of macaroni and cheese waited beside roasted carrots glazed with honey and thyme. Outside, 42 paper stars were scattered around the long table under the maple tree. I had folded every one myself. It was sentimental and a little ridiculous. But Ryan had once told me that no one had made a big deal out of his birthday after he turned 12. I remembered things like that. Remembering was how I had always loved people. Through the kitchen window, I could see Ryan laughing with his younger sister, Kelsey. He held a glass of bourbon while she filmed the backyard for her social media page. "Perfect Mercer family night," she said into her phone. The camera moved across the brick house, the string lights, the restored barn, and the table I had set. It passed over me, carrying a tray without stopping. The house had belonged to me for 11 years. I bought it before I met Ryan, back when Hayes Ledger and Payroll was still operating from the second bedroom of my apartment. The original kitchen had green laminate counters, 2 broken cabinet doors, and a dishwasher that flooded the floor the first night I used it. My father helped me replace the cabinets. I refinished the floors. I painted every room. When Ryan and I married, his family began calling it the Mercer House. At first, I corrected them. Eventually, correcting them felt more humiliating than disappearing. Ryan's father, George, appeared in the doorway as I lifted the brisket onto a cutting board. George was 68, broad-shouldered and quiet, with silver hair and hands roughened by 30 years of teaching shop class. He looked over the food. "You've been working all day. Most of it. You didn't have to." "I know." He placed a folded note beside the knife. "What's that?" "Nothing important." He walked away before I opened it. His handwriting leaned slightly to the right. "Thank you for always making room for everyone." I folded the note and slipped it into my apron pocket. Then the front door opened. A child laughed in the foyer. My hand stopped over the carving knife. I knew that voice. Owen, Ryan's 10-year-old son. I had packed snacks for his soccer tournaments, bought his birthday presents, and remembered that he hated mushrooms but loved strawberry milk. How was never the problem. The woman walking beside him was. Lauren Pike entered the kitchen wearing a camel coat and tall brown boots. Her blonde hair was pulled back loosely, and one hand rested on Owen's shoulder. Ryan came in behind them. He met my eyes. Guilt flashed across his face. Not surprise, not confusion. Guilt. That was how I knew immediately that this was not a last-minute decision. "Hey," he said. I waited. He rubbed the back of his neck. "Lauren brought Owen by with my gift. Mom thought they should stay." Lauren looked around the kitchen. "It's even nicer than Diane described." I stared at her. "You've never been inside this house." She realized her mistake. "No, I meant from the pictures." Ryan stepped between us. "Becca, don't." "Don't what?" "Start." I looked at him. "When did you invite them?" His jaw tightened. "It doesn't matter." "When?" Lauren looked towards the hallway. Ryan lowered his voice. "Tuesday." "It was Saturday. You invited your ex-wife 4 days ago." "I invited my son." "Lauren is standing in my kitchen. She is his mother. And you chose not to tell me. I knew you wouldn't like it." The words entered the room with brutal simplicity. There it was. Not a misunderstanding. Not poor timing. A decision. You knew I would object, I said, so you hid it. I wanted one peaceful birthday. Built on a lie. Built on not having to manage your reaction before the party even started. My reaction. The burden he had been preparing for was not his mother's manipulation or his ex-wife's presence. It was my awareness. Diane entered before I could answer. Her face transformed when she saw Lauren. There she is. She wrapped both arms around her former daughter-in-law. Then she bent toward Owen. There's my handsome grandson. Owen smiled and handed Ryan a gift bag. I picked it, he said. Inside was a set of carving tools. Ryan's face softened. These are great, buddy. Kelsey rushed in with her phone already raised. Everyone stand together. She arranged Ryan beside Lauren. Owen stood in front of them. Diane moved close and placed her hand on Owen's chest. George remained at the edge. I stood beside the island. Kelsey took 3 photographs. Perfect, she said. Then she looked at me. Becca, can you bring the rest of the food out before it gets cold? Something inside me became quiet. Not broken. Quiet. There is a difference. To my chair. The long table had been set for 6. Ryan, me, Diane, George, Kelsey, Owen. Lauren made 7. There was room in the house for another chair. That was not the problem. The problem was that Diane reached my place first. My navy napkin was folded beside Ryan's plate. A card with Rebecca Hayes Mercer written across it rested against my water glass. Diane picked up the card. She slipped it beneath the cake stand. Then she pulled out my chair for Lauren. You sit here. Lauren hesitated. I can sit at the end. Nonsense. You should be beside Ryan. Owen deserves to sit with both his parents. I looked at Ryan. He stared down at the table. That was the first moment he could have stopped it. I did not. Lauren removed her coat. Diane continued. A house can be bought, Becca. A bloodline cannot. The words were directed at me, but her hand remained on Lauren's chair. You gave Ryan his only child, she told Lauren. You should never have to wonder where you belong in this family. Every conversation stopped. George looked at his hands. Kelsey lowered her phone slightly but kept recording. Owen stared at the floorboards. I waited for my husband. Ryan. He exhaled sharply. Please don't make this embarrassing. I haven't done anything. Your face is saying enough. My name card was just removed from my place. It's a chair. It was my chair at the dinner I planned in my home. Diane smiled without warmth. There it is again. Your house, your dinner, your money. You always have to remind everyone what belongs to you. For 5 years, I had rarely reminded them of anything. I paid the mortgage without announcement. When Diane needed dental implants, I covered what her insurance refused. When George had shoulder surgery, I drove him to therapy. When Kelsey wanted to start a home decor business, I gave her a company card and enough money to rent her first market booth. When Mercer Millworks nearly missed payroll, I moved money from my business reserve so 6 employees could take checks home. But asking to keep my own chair was suddenly proof that I cared too much about ownership. Ryan stepped closer. Owen is my blood, Becca. The sentence found the oldest wound in me. 2 years earlier, I had lost a pregnancy at 11 weeks. There had been an ultrasound room, a technician who stopped speaking, and a drive home, during which Ryan held the steering wheel with both hands and never looked at me. Diane later told him, perhaps it was God's way of showing us that not every woman was meant to become a mother. Ryan asked me not to take it personally. She's grieving too, he said. I had gone home that night and packed Owen's Christmas presents. Now Ryan was using the boy as proof that I mattered less. I have never treated Owen as anything other than family, I said. Then prove it. How? Get another chair. Bring 2 place settings. Let us have one night without turning everything into a battle. Lauren spoke quietly. Ryan, maybe I should go. He turned toward her. No, you were invited. Then he looked at me. You knew Lauren would always be part of this family. You were the one who chose to marry into it. The sentence hurt more than Diane's, because Diane had never promised to choose me. Ryan had. I looked around the table. The cake I baked. The stars I folded. The dishes I cooked. The house I restored. The woman in my chair. My husband standing beside her. Diane pointed towards the dining room. Bring Lauren the good silverware, not the everyday set. I set down the platter in my hands. Then I reached behind my back and untied my apron. I folded it once. George's note remained inside the pocket. I placed it beside Ryan's cake. Dinner is ready, I said. You all know where the kitchen is. Ryan frowned. Where are you going? Out. He followed me inside. Are you seriously leaving my birthday because mom moved a chair? No. Then what is this? I took my coat from the mudroom hook. I'm leaving because you invited your ex-wife 4 days ago and hid it from me. I'm leaving because your mother removed your wife from her place, and you decided my embarrassment was easier to manage than hers. That is not what happened. It is exactly what happened. Becca, people are watching. That has always mattered more to you than what they were watching happen. I picked up the leather work bag I had placed beside the door that morning. His eyes moved to it. Why is your laptop in there? Because it belongs to me. His expression changed. For the first time, anger gave way to unease. Are you coming back tonight? Not tonight. He reached toward my arm. I stepped away. From the porch, Diane called out, let her go. She always comes back once she has made her point. Ryan heard her. So did I. Neither of us corrected her. I walked through the garage and got into my car. As I reversed down the driveway, I saw them through the dining room window. Lauren sat beside my husband. Diane poured her wine. Kelsey raised her phone again. Ryan stood in the kitchen staring after me. For years, I had measured every argument by how quickly I could repair it. That night, I asked myself a different question. Why was I always repairing damage I had not caused? 3. The photograph. Ryan called twice before I reached downtown Franklin. Then he sent a message. You humiliated me in front of my family. Not are you safe? Not I'm sorry. Not I should have told you. I humiliated him by refusing to remain present for my own humiliation. Diane texted next. Adults do not abandon a family dinner because their feelings are hurt. Kelsey sent a photograph. Ryan stood behind his birthday cake. Lauren was beside him. Owen stood between them. Diane's hand rested on Ryan's shoulder. George was barely visible at the edge. The caption read, it still turned into a beautiful family night. I zoomed in. My apron was gone. The paper stars remained. My work was visible. I was not. That photograph did not show a family continuing without me. It showed a family consuming what I had made after removing me from the frame. I saved it. Then I drove to the apartment above my office. We rented it to visiting consultants, but it was empty that week. There was one bedroom, a small kitchen, and a couch facing the brick wall of the building next door. It was not beautiful. It was quiet. I sat on the edge of the bed without switching on a light. For almost 20 minutes, I did nothing. At home, there was always a sound waiting for me. Ryan asking where his keys were. Diane calling from another room. Kelsey opening a cabinet. A delivery arriving. A load of laundry finishing that no one else would fold. That night, there was only traffic moving faintly along Main Street. My hands began to shake, not because I wanted to return, because my body had spent years preparing to absorb the next injury, and for the first time, nothing was coming. I pressed both feet against the floor. I breathed until the shaking stopped. Then I opened my banking app. I did not empty accounts. I did not take money belonging to anyone else. I disabled access to mine. Kelsey's company card. Ryan's household card. Diane's department store account. The family phone plan remained active. George's emergency medical card remained active. The rest stopped. Then I emailed my operations director and oldest friend Tessa Green. Begin phase 2. She replied less than a minute later. I hoped you would never need it. Then, everything is ready. That sentence represented 14 months of preparation. 14 months earlier, I had still been trying to save my marriage. But I had finally understood that preparation was not the same as betrayal. Sometimes preparation was what a woman did after realizing everyone around her considered her forgiveness permanent. 4. How I helped them erase me. I met Ryan 11 years earlier at a small business workshop in Nashville. Mercer Millworks was 6 weeks from closing. Ryan sat in the back row holding a yellow legal pad and looking as though the speaker had just announced his execution. During a discussion about cash flow, he raised his hand. What do you do, he asked, when your cash has stopped flowing? The room laughed. I laughed too. Afterward, he found me beside the coffee station. You laughed at my financial crisis. You made it sound funny. It isn't. I know. At the time, Hayes Ledger and Payroll was operating from my apartment. My clients were landscapers, plumbers, restaurants, and small contractors who were good at their work, but terrified of tax letters. Ryan could not afford my regular rate. I told him our first consultation would cost 1 cup of coffee. We sat in a diner for 3 hours. Mercer Millworks had underpriced nearly every job for 2 years. They were paying rush fees because no one tracked inventory. A contractor owed them $40,000. Ryan used one credit card to pay another and hid the statements from George because his father's blood pressure was high. "You can save it," Ryan asked. "I can show you how to save it." "Is that the same thing?" "No," he smiled. That smile changed my life. For the next year, we worked side by side. I reorganized the books. He taught me to use a table saw. I helped collect unpaid invoices. He brought burgers to my apartment when I lost my first large client. When Mercer Millworks finally made a profit, Ryan framed the statement and wrote beneath it, "Becca saved us." I did not need the credit, but I remember how it felt to receive it. We married 6 years later beneath the maple tree behind my house. George built the arch. Owen, 5 years old, carried the rings. At the reception, Ryan held my hands and told me I was the safest place he had ever known. I thought it was a promise. I did not understand that some people call you safe because they expect to rest inside you without helping hold up the walls. The changes were small at first. Ryan stopped asking before using my business funds to cover a slow month. Diane began arriving without calling. Kelsey learned the code to the house and treated my closets as a free rental service. At Thanksgiving, Diane rearranged the kitchen cabinets because Mercer women kept things properly organized. When I reminded her that I was also a Mercer woman, she smiled. By marriage. After my miscarriage, I coped in the only way I knew. I worked. I paid bills. I planned dinners. I solved problems. Every time someone hurt me, I made myself more useful. Providing was easier than asking whether they loved me. That was my part in what happened. I had believed that if I kept enough people safe, they would eventually make me feel safe too. Instead, my usefulness became the price of my place. 14 months before Ryan's birthday, a message appeared on the kitchen tablet connected to his phone. "Lauren, your mom says the house will stay with the Mercers when everything changes." Ryan replied. "Mom talks too much." "Lauren, is she wrong?" Several minutes passed. Then, "Ryan, Becca would never make me leave." I read it 3 times. Not because it was unclear. Because it was devastatingly clear. Ryan believed love had made consequences impossible. Diane believed my house belonged to her son. Lauren believed there was a future in which she might live there. And all 3 believed I would continue financing that future. That night I called Tessa. "Are you ready to leave him?" she asked. No. It was true then. "What are you ready to do?" "Make sure I can leave when I am." We separated my company from every family expense. I photographed the furniture, artwork, tools, and keepsakes in the house. I moved important documents to the office. I reviewed old charges. I discovered Kelsey had used my company card for hotel weekends, clothing, restaurant bills, and vendor research that looked suspiciously like vacations. I also discovered objects disappearing from my home: a brass lamp, 2 botanical prints, my grandmother's quilt, a walnut table my father had built when I was 19. Kelsey's online shop later featured several of them as carefully sourced vintage pieces. I saved the photographs. Still, I said nothing. Part of me wanted proof. Another part wanted to discover how far they would go if they believed I would never stop them. That was not healthy. It was not noble. It was the behavior of a woman afraid to ask a question because she already knew the answer. 5. The group named Bloodline. The morning after the birthday dinner, I went to work. Tessa placed a turkey sandwich beside my laptop at noon. "You need to eat." "I'm not hungry." You tell clients every day that ignoring a problem makes it more expensive. This is not the same. It is exactly the same. The asset is you. My phone buzzed. Ryan sent a screenshot from a family group chat. The name at the top was Mercer Bloodline. I had never seen it before. The members were Ryan, Diane, George, Kelsey, Lauren, several cousins, and one uncle. I was not included. The group had been created 18 months earlier, 3 months after my miscarriage. Diane's first message read, "I thought it would be good to have a place for the original Mercers and those connected through the children." Those connected through the children. Lauren belonged because of Owen. I did not, because I had lost mine. Ryan had participated. He sent photographs. He answered questions about holiday plans. He laughed at jokes about how I controlled the kitchen. I knew. The most recent messages were from Diane. "Becca is trying to punish Ryan because she cannot accept that his first family will always matter. Kelsey replied. She has always used money to make us feel small. A cousin asked. Doesn't she own the house? Diane answered. On paper. But Ryan gave that house a family. My stomach tightened, as though I had been an empty building before he arrived. Then I reached Ryan's messages. Please stop. Becca has done more for this family than any of us want to admit. It was the first public defense of me I had seen in years. It arrived after I left. Diane wrote, She has poisoned you against your own mother. Ryan replied, No, you did this at dinner. I let you, but you did it. I stared at the words. I was finally saying the right thing because silence had become expensive. Ryan called. I answered. Neither of us spoke for several seconds. Finally, he said, I didn't know Mom named the group that. You were in it. I didn't name it. You stayed. I know. Why did you send it? Because you deserve to know. I deserved to know 18 months ago. I was trying to avoid conflict. You avoided conflict with your mother by transferring it to me. I exhaled. I don't know how to argue with that. Then don't. I am sorry about dinner. Which part? All of it. The invitation you hid. Yes. My chair. Yes. Using Owen's blood to make me feel replaceable. His voice became rough. I didn't mean it that way. How did you mean it? Everyone was looking at me. Mom was pushing. Lauren was uncomfortable. Owen looked scared. I wanted the moment to end. So you sacrificed the person most likely to forgive you. Silence. You always chose me, I said, when choosing me cost nothing. That isn't fair. It is the fairest thing I have said in years. I love you. There had been a time those words reached every part of me. Now they struck something closed. You loved being forgiven, I said. You loved coming home to a stable house and a wife who solved problems before they touched you. I don't know when you last loved me as a person. That's not true. Tell me the last decision you made because it protected me instead of protecting your comfort. He said nothing. I waited. Finally, he whispered, I don't know. Neither did I. 6. The envelope. For 4 days, I stayed away. I sent Ryan one message. I am safe. I need space. Please communicate by text unless there is an emergency involving Owen or your father. His first response was, Are you really ending a marriage over a chair? It had never been about the chair. The chair was simply the first object honest enough to show me where I stood. On the 4th afternoon, a courier arrived at the house with a white envelope. Ryan signed for it. Inside was a short separation proposal prepared with Maya Ellis, the family attorney. I had quietly consulted months earlier. There were no traps, no complicated clauses, no effort to leave Ryan homeless. I would remain away for 30 days while he found a new place and reviewed the proposal with his own attorney. He would keep his personal savings, clothes, tools, and the operating side of Mercer Millworks. I would forgive the business loans I had made. He would leave the house which I had purchased before our marriage and stop using my company accounts. Behind the proposal was a summary of what I had paid during our marriage. More than $600,000. The mortgage, the workshop roof, Diane's medical expenses, Kelsey's business charges, the truck, insurance, payroll during the worst year. One line showed a coffee purchase Ryan had complained about because I bought the wrong brand. The line directly beneath it showed the payment that kept the workshop's electricity from being disconnected. Ryan called immediately. I did not answer. Diane called. Then Kelsey. George called last. I'm not calling to change your mind, he said. Thank you. I read the proposal. It is fair. In the background, Diane shouted his name. George lowered his voice. Lauren is here. Why? Diane called her. I opened the exterior camera feed. Lauren stood on the porch with Ryan. Owen was not with her. Their voices carried clearly. Your mother told me the house was yours, Lauren said. It is my home. That is not what I asked. Becca and I are married. Not for long. Lauren. She paid for it. Ryan looked away. The workshop building too. She helped. Did she buy it? Silence. Lauren folded her arms. Diane said things were finally changing. Ryan's face hardened. What things? She said you would keep the house. She said once Becca was gone, Owen could spend more time here. And you? Lauren hesitated. She said maybe we could become a family again. Ryan stared at her. You came to my birthday because Mom promised you my wife's house. I came because she told me you wanted us there. I wanted Owen there. You invited me. For him. You put me beside you. Mom moved the chair. You let her. Ryan flinched. Lauren looked through the window toward the kitchen. Then she said quietly, I believed I was walking back into the life we should have had. Ryan's voice dropped. You left that life because you had nothing. He stared at her. She seemed to realize how cruel the truth sounded only after it was spoken. I mean, we were drowning. No, you meant what you said. Lauren picked up her purse. I need to think. About what? About whether Owen should be around this. You brought him into this last week. Because I believed the information had changed. What information? She looked at him directly. Whether you had something to offer. Then she walked to her car. Ryan remained on the porch as she drove away. It was the first time he understood that Lauren had not returned because she missed him. She returned because Diane had promised her the life I built. 7. The name Caleb. 3 nights after the envelope arrived, George called me. I was sitting in my kitchen. I could hear the familiar scrape of the stool against the floor. I always knew it was you, he said. What was? Holding everything together. My throat tightened. I saw it, I just didn't say it. Why? Cowardice. I did not soften the word. I called silence peace because peace sounded better than fear. Rain tapped against the apartment window. I should have defended you, he continued. I should have asked why Kelsey's business was filled with things from your house. I should have told Diane to stop using Owen to hurt you. You knew about the things Kelsey took. I saw your cedar chest in her storage unit. She asked me to repair the hinge. The disappointment cut deeply. You said nothing. I told myself Ryan had given it to her. Did you ask him? No. Did you ask me? No. I closed my eyes. George's silence had always felt gentler than Diane's cruelty. But silence had protected her. That made it part of the same system. I am sorry, he said. I believe you. That does not mean you forgive me. No, I understand. That answer made me trust him more than another speech would have. Before ending the call, George said, there is something else. What? Last night, Diane and Lauren argued in the garage. About what? I only heard part of it. He paused. Lauren said you promised no one would ever bring Caleb into this. My body became still. Caleb Foster. That is the only Caleb I know connected to Ryan. Caleb had once been Ryan's closest friend and business partner. Their partnership ended after Caleb accepted a contract Ryan believed belonged to Mercer Millworks. Ryan had not spoken to him in a decade. What did Diane say? She told Lauren to keep her voice down. Then she said, as long as Owen is Ryan's son, Caleb does not matter. As long as Owen is Ryan's son. Not because Owen is Ryan's son. A small difference. A devastating one. Did Ryan hear? I don't think so. Do not tell him yet. George became quiet. Why? Because right now we have half a conversation and a decade of speculation. You think, I don't know what I think. That was not entirely true. But information was not truth until it could survive direct questions. The next morning, Lauren came to my office. She did not call first. Tessa stood in my doorway. Ryan's ex-wife is in reception. Is Owen with her? No. Send her in. Lauren entered carrying the camel coat she had worn to the dinner. She closed the door. I need to know what you plan to do, she said. With what? The separation, the house, Ryan. My marriage is ending. Are you trying to take Mercer Millworks? No, Diane said. Diane says many things. Lauren sat across from me. She is threatening to involve Owen. How? She says she will fight to keep him connected to the Mercers if I reduce Ryan's visits. Why would you reduce them? Lauren looked down. Because everything is becoming complicated. Ryan loves him. I know. Then what changed? She said nothing. I leaned back. Did you have an affair with Caleb Foster? Her head snapped up. Who told you? You just did. Color drained from her face. She stood. This was a mistake. Sit down. You do not get to order me, then leave. But understand something first. Diane is already using Owen as leverage. If there is a truth that affects him, Ryan and Caleb pretending it does not exist will not protect your son. Lauren remained standing. Do not use him against Ryan. I would never use a child as a weapon. You hate us. I hate what happened in my home. That is not the same as wanting to destroy a 10-year-old boy. She slowly sat again. Caleb and I were together before I left Ryan, she said. How long? Almost a year. And Owen, her eyes filled. I do not know. Does Caleb? I knows there is a possibility. Does Diane? She saw messages before Owen was born. She confronted me. I denied it. And she decided not to ask again. She said Ryan needed a reason to keep going. The shop had nearly failed. Caleb had betrayed him. She said taking away the baby would destroy him. So she chose the lie that gave her a grandson. She believed Ryan could be a father whether or not biology agreed. I almost laughed. That would have sounded noble if Diane had not spent years using biology against me. She told me blood was the reason you belonged, I said. Lauren looked ashamed. I know. You sat in my chair anyway. Diane told me you knew we were coming. You knew something was wrong the moment you entered. She did not deny it. She told me Ryan would keep the house, Lauren said. She told me the two of you were practically over. And if the house had belonged to him, her jaw tightened. That is unfair. Is it inaccurate? She looked away. No answer was needed. You need to tell Ryan, I said. I will decide when it is best for Owen. Protecting Owen does not require letting every adult around him live inside a lie forever. You cannot understand. I understand what happens when adults decide someone else's pain is acceptable collateral. She stood again. Promise me you will not tell him. No, fear entered her face. I will not expose Owen publicly. I continued. I will not use this in my separation, but I will not promise to protect a lie if you refuse to tell the truth. Lauren left. For one furious moment, I wanted to send Ryan everything. I wanted him to feel the sentence he had spoken at dinner collapse in his mouth. Owen is my blood. I imagined Diane discovering that the bloodline she worshipped had never existed. My hand hovered above my phone. Then I saw Owen's face in my mind. The way he had stared at the floor while adults fought over his right to belong. I put the phone down. Restraint did not come naturally in that moment. It was a choice. That made it matter. 8. Curated objects with a history. Kelsey's boutique opened 2 weeks later. Mercer Home and Found occupied a narrow storefront near downtown Franklin. White letters covered the glass. Dried flowers framed the entrance. A chalkboard sign read, "Curated objects with a history." That part was true. Many of them had my history. Kelsey promoted the opening for weeks. In one video, she stood beside the walnut table my father had built. This came from an old family property, she told the camera. It has generations of Mercer history. There was no Mercer history in that table, only my father's hands. Another video showed my grandmother's quilt hanging on the wall. My botanical prints stood behind the register. The cedar chest George built as my wedding gift was labeled, "Handcrafted Southern Heirloom." I sent Kelsey a private message. "Several items in your shop belong to me. Close today and contact me so we can arrange their return without involving customers or authorities." Her reply arrived immediately. Ryan said anything in the barn was for family use. Ryan did not own them. You never used most of that stuff. That does not make it yours. I turned it into something valuable. I stared at the message. Then I wrote, "They were valuable before you put a price tag on them." She sent one final reply. "You are trying to destroy us because you hate the Mercers." I called Maya. The following morning, I arrived at the boutique with her 2 movers and a local officer present only to keep the peace, while clearly documented property was removed. The shop was crowded. Kelsey wore a white blazer and held a glass of sparkling wine. Diane stood beside the register. Ryan was near the back wall. When he saw me, he crossed the room quickly. "Becca not here." "Why? This is Kelsey's opening." "I know. She worked hard. So did my father." I pointed toward the walnut table. Ryan looked at it. Recognition moved across his face. "Where did she get that?" "From my barn." He turned toward Kelsey. She had seen us. Her smile disappeared. I walked to the table and ran my fingers beneath the edge. My father had carved a small H into the wood. It remained. Kelsey stepped in front of me. "You need to leave. I asked you privately to return my property. You gave those things to the family. Show me where." Diane approached. "This is exactly the spectacle I expected. Did you help her take these? Everything in your house was used by the family. That is not an answer. You have more than you need." Neither was that. Nearby conversations faded. Several phones lifted. Kelsey noticed and changed her expression. She became wounded. "Becca, I understand you are angry about Ryan, but destroying my dream will not heal your marriage. My marriage did not place my grandmother's quilt on your wall." A woman standing beside the display turned toward the quilt. Ryan looked at Kelsey. "Did you take these things? You said we could use the barn for holiday displays. I did not say you could sell Becca's property. You always choose her when it matters least. His face tightened. Did you take them? Kelsey looked toward Diane. Diane answered for her. They belong to all of us. No, Ryan said. One word. The room became very still. Diane stared at him. Ryan walked toward the cedar chest. Dad built this for Becca. Her name is carved inside the lid. Hein opened it. BH. The initials were visible in the wood. Kelsey's face reddened. Ryan continued. The table was built by her father. He looked around at the lamps, frames, and quilt. These are hers. Kelsey whispered, You are choosing furniture over your sister. No, I am choosing the truth after choosing comfort for too long. The phones captured every word. Diane grabbed his arm. Do not humiliate your family. Ryan pulled away. You taught us to call consequences humiliation. For the first time, I saw him confront her before being forced by a private crisis. It did not repair our marriage, but it was real. The officer and movers began matching the documented objects. No one was arrested. No one was dragged away. The buyers were offered refunds. The shop did not explode in theatrical ruin. It simply became what it had always been beneath the balloons and photographs. A room filled with things Kelsey had not earned. As I carried my grandmother's quilt toward the door, Kelsey called after me. You think getting your things back makes you better than me? I turned. No. Knowing they were mine never made me better. Believing you had the right to take them made you someone I no longer recognized. Then I left. 9. The result. Lauren told Ryan the truth 3 days later. Not because courage suddenly found her. Because Diane called and demanded that Owen attend a meeting about protecting his place in the family. Lauren refused. Diane threatened to seek legal access as his grandmother. That was when Lauren finally said, You may not be his grandmother. Ryan called me at 11:42 that night. Did you know? His voice sounded hollow. I knew there was a possibility. For how long? 3 days. You said nothing. It was not my truth to throw at you during our separation. You could have warned me. I told Lauren she had to tell you. He breathed too quickly. Where are you? I asked. At the workshop. Are you alone? Yes. Sit down. I don't want to. Ryan. A chair scraped against concrete. Hun sat. Mom knew, he said. She suspected. She saw messages. Lauren admitted Mom confronted her before Owen was born. I closed my eyes. How do you feel? He laughed bitterly. How do you think? I am not going to tell you how you feel. He called me Dad. You are the father he knows. That does not make him mine. The sentence frightened me. Do not punish Owen for what the adults did. I'm not. You sound like you are trying to remove him from your heart before the truth can hurt you. Silence. Blood did not drive him to soccer, I continued. Blood did not sit beside him after surgery. Blood did not teach him to sand a board. You did. He might be Caleb's. Owen is not Caleb. Ryan began to cry. Quietly at first. Then with the uneven breathing of someone whose past had shifted beneath him. What am I supposed to do? For once decide who you want to be without asking your mother. The paternity test came back 3 weeks later. Ryan was not Owen's biological father. Caleb Foster was. Diane demanded another test. Then a third. She accused Lauren of switching samples. She accused the laboratory. She accused me of paying someone. She accused everyone except herself. The next morning, she removed every photograph of Owen from the living room. Ryan found the frames stacked inside a closet. Hi is still a child, Ryan said. George later told me the entire confrontation. Hi is not a Mercer, Diane replied. How was yesterday? We were deceived. Owen did not deceive anyone. You need distance until the situation is resolved. There is nothing to resolve about whether I love him. Hi is Caleb Foster's son. Hi is Owen. Diane called him emotional. Ryan carried the photographs to the workshop. Then he drove to Lauren's apartment. Owen waited outside in his soccer clothes. Ryan had forgotten there was practice. The boy believed he had come to pick him up. So Ryan did. That night he called me from his truck. I almost listened to her, he said. To Diane. She said I should step away. What changed your mind? I saw him waiting with his cleats on. His voice broke. I thought I was there for practice. What did you do? I took him. Good. I kept hearing what you said. Blood did not teach him to use a hand plane. No, I did. Yes, I was his father yesterday. You still are if both of you choose that relationship. A long silence followed. Then Ryan said, I'm sorry for what I said at dinner. I know. I used Owen to make you feel replaceable. Yes. And now mom is trying to make him replaceable. Yes, I helped build that. You did. Then I become someone else? Yes. Hope entered his voice. Could we? Not for me. The hope vanished. You need to change because you have to live with yourself, I said. Not because you believe it will bring me back. This time when he cried, I ended the call. Some grief needed to remain with the person who created it. 10. Ryan finally read everything. Ryan met with his own attorney. He read the separation agreement from beginning to end. This time Diane was not beside him telling him what to sign. He called me afterward. I am accepting it. Did you read everything? Yes. Do you understand it? Yes. Are you agreeing because your attorney advised you? Yes. What changed? I read the expenses. You saw the summary. I saw a total. Today I read the details. His voice thickened. I saw Dad's surgery, Mom's dental work, the workshop roof, Kelsey's card, payroll. He paused. I saw the coffee. I knew exactly what he meant. The brand you complained about, I said. Yes. It was on the statement above the payment that kept the electricity on at the shop. I said nothing. I don't remember thanking you. You usually did not know. Because I did not ask. No. I told myself you liked handling everything. I liked security. I turned that into permission not to participate. Yes. And whenever Mom called you controlling, I let myself believe her because it meant I did not have to feel ashamed. Shame is useful only if it becomes responsibility. I signed. The practical end of our marriage had begun. The emotional end happened at the table. I will move out before the 30 days are over, he said. What about Diane? She assumes she can stay. Why? She says you would never make an older woman leave. What do you think? I think she spent years confusing your kindness with surrender. That was perhaps the clearest thing he had ever said about his mother. And 11, the final day. I remained away for the full 30 days. Not because Diane deserved the time, because I wanted to return calmly. I did not want to enter my house shaking and make decisions from a wound. I wanted to walk in as its owner, not as a woman begging to be recognized inside it. On the final morning, I drove home with Tessa and Maya. A moving truck stood in the driveway. Leaves covered the lawn. The maple tree was nearly bare. Ryan opened the door. I looked thinner. His hair was longer and dark circles sat beneath his eyes. For a moment I saw the young man from the diner. Then he stepped aside. Welcome home. The words hurt because they were 6 years late. I entered. The house smelled like cardboard dust and coffee. The dining table had been cleared. My chair remained beside Ryan's old place. My folded apron lay on the kitchen island. George's note was still inside the pocket. Kelsey stood near the stairs beside 3 suitcases. She avoided my eyes. The boutique had closed. She had agreed to repay the company charges over time rather than force a public criminal complaint. I had chosen restitution. Not because she deserved rescue, because destroying her future would not restore my past. Diane stood in the living room wearing the camel coat I had given her for Christmas. Unlike nearly everything else she used, it had truly been a gift. She had the right to take it. Even then, accuracy mattered to me. This is unnecessary, she said. What is bringing an attorney into a private family matter? Maya is here to make sure the signed agreement is followed. We would have left without supervision. I looked toward the hallway. 3 framed prints from my office leaned beside Diane's suitcase. She followed my eyes. Those belonged to Ryan's grandmother. No, I purchased them in Louisville. They have hung in this family home for years. That does not make them yours. Maya quietly checked the inventory. Kelsey dragged another suitcase downstairs. She stopped in front of me. I returned everything. Everything we identified. Her face tightened. You still think I'm a thief? What word would you use? I thought family shared things. Did you share the profits? She looked away. No. Then you understood ownership when it benefited you. Diane stepped closer. She made a mistake. She made the same decision 26 times, photographed it, priced it, and opened a store. You have already taken her business. I stopped paying for it. It is the same thing. No, it only feels the same because you never expected Kelsey to build anything without using me. Kelsey's face changed. Not anger this time. Fear. I don't know how to start again, she whispered. Diane reached toward her. Kelsey stepped away. The small movement mattered. What part don't you know? I asked. Any of it. She looked around the room. The card was yours. The house was yours. The first customers were Mom's friends. The inventory came from here. Her voice shook. I don't know what part was actually mine. For the first time, she had said something without performance. I softened. Not enough to remove the boundary. I'll begin with what is yours, I said, even if it is small. Will you help me? No. Her eyes filled. Not now, I continued. Helping you before you understand what happened would repeat the problem. Find a job, learn inventory, save your money, repay what you took. That could take years. Yes. No one rescued her. That was the first honest gift her family had given her. 12. What Ryan could not repair. Ryan's boxes stood beside the front door. He approached me while Maya inspected the upstairs rooms. Can we talk? We walked into the kitchen, the same kitchen where I had prepared his birthday dinner. He stood across from me at the island. I did love you, he said. I know you felt love. That sounds like you don't believe me. It means love was not enough to overcome your comfort. He lowered his head. I thought keeping mom calm protected everyone. It protected you. Yes. I needed a husband. You became a hallway between me and your mother. Every time she hurt me, you asked me to walk farther so you did not have to choose a door. His eyes filled. I'm trying to change. I hope you do. But you will not wait. I waited for years. I didn't understand. That does not restore the years. He pressed both palms against the island. Could we start over someday? No. The answer came without anger. That made it final. Is there someone else? No. Then why? Another man is not the reason I stopped accepting this marriage. I looked helpless. What was the exact moment? What? The moment you stopped loving me. I considered it. I did not stop all at once. Every time you asked me to forgive something, you were too afraid to stop. Part of my love became responsibility. He closed his eyes. Then routine. His shoulders dropped. Then exhaustion. I touched the apron. At dinner, I realized there was more responsibility left than love. A tear slipped down his face. I'm sorry I used Owen against you. Good. I'm sorry I let mom call you temporary. Good. I'm sorry I accepted everything you gave until I stopped seeing the giving. My eyes burned. Good. I'm sorry I made you feel like a guest in your own home. A tear moved down my cheek. I did not hide it. That one mattered. He picked up his final box. At the doorway, he turned. Take care of yourself, Becca. I always have. He flinched because he understood. Then he carried the box outside. 13 bloodline. Diane was the last person inside. George stood near the living room window holding his jacket and one small box. He had returned only for the final belongings from his study. Diane looked at him. Are you ready? No, she frowned. The truck is waiting. I'm not going with you. The room became still. Kelsey stopped near the door. Diane stared at her husband. Where are you going? To Margaret's house in Kentucky. For how long? I don't know. You cannot abandon me now. George's expression was deeply tired. I abandoned too many things by remaining silent. Diane looked toward me. This is what she wanted. No, I said. You turned my husband against me. George stepped forward. Stop. His voice was not loud. I had never heard him use that tone with her. Becca did not turn me against you, he continued. She forced me to look at myself. I built this family. You controlled it. I protected our children. You kept them dependent. I preserved Ryan's relationship with Owen. You preserved the version that suited you. Diane's hand moved toward her pearls. I is not even Ryan's child. I was your grandson until the laboratory told you otherwise. We were deceived. Owen did not deceive you. I is not a Mercer. Ryan re-entered from the porch. He had heard her. I is Owen, he said. Diane turned. You should not be here for this. It is my life you managed. I saved you from being destroyed. You let me build 10 years of my life around a truth you were afraid to test. I gave you a son. No, Lauren gave birth to a child. I chose to become his father. Diane's face hardened. Caleb Foster's child. Ryan stepped closer. You said blood was everything when it gave you power over Becca. Now blood has taken Owen from you because you cannot love anyone without ownership. She slapped him. The sound cracked across the room. Ryan did not move. George closed his eyes. Kelsey began to cry quietly. Diane looked at her own hand as if surprised by it. Then she turned toward me. This family was respected before you arrived. No one is taking your history from you. You have taken the home, the business, my children, and my husband. I took nothing that belonged to you. You think money makes you powerful. No. I walked toward the dining table. My name card from the birthday dinner remained beneath the cake stand. Someone had never removed it. I pulled it out. The edges were slightly bent. This was never about money. I held up the card. It was about how easily you removed my name from a place I created. Diane stared at it. You believed I had to earn my chair every day by paying, cooking, fixing, forgiving. I placed the card on the table. But Lauren belonged because she gave Ryan a child. Diane said nothing. You told me a house could be bought, but a bloodline could not. Her face tightened. I continued. Now the bloodline is gone. The house remains. The room became silent. Not the silence George once called peace. The silence of a lie with nowhere left to hide. Diane lifted the handle of her suitcase. I hope you enjoy this empty house. I looked around. It was emptier when all of you were inside it. She flinched. I did not feel victorious, only free. Diane walked out. Kelsey followed a moment later. Ryan remained on the porch. George picked up his box. Before leaving, he looked at me. I am sorry. I know. I don't expect forgiveness. Good. He nodded. What should I expect? That depends on what you do next. It was less comforting than the words I would once have given him. It was more honest. 14. The house became warm. After they left, I walked through every room. Ryan's closet was empty. Diane's perfume no longer hung in the hallway. Kelsey's boxes were gone. The house was not silent. It was breathing. In the bedroom, one empty hanger moved beneath the air vent. I sat on the floor. Then I cried. I cried for the child I lost. For the woman who returned from that appointment and apologized to everyone for being sad. For every dinner I served while waiting for someone to notice I had not sat down. For Ryan. For the young man in the diner who had once listened to every word I said. Leaving did not make every good memory false. It meant the good memories could no longer excuse the life that followed. I also cried for myself. For the years I had made myself useful, because usefulness felt safer than asking whether I was loved. I had not caused their entitlement, but I had participated in the system by solving every consequence before it reached them. That ended too. When the tears stopped, I washed my face. Then I changed the thermostat. Diane preferred 66 degrees. Ryan liked 67. I had worn sweaters inside my own home for 5 winters. I set it to 72. Warm air moved through the vents. It was such a small thing. My temperature, my home, my choice. I stood beneath the vent and smiled. 50 of the round table. The following morning, I found a new table inside the barn. George had built it from reclaimed maple. It was round. There was no head. Every seat held the same amount of space. A note rested on top. Becca, a family table should not have one seat that matters more than another. This one belongs to you. Only invite people who understand that sitting here is a privilege. George. Beneath the edge he had carved a small H. Not M for Mercer. H for Hayes. My name. My history. My place. I did not call him that day. I did not tell him everything was forgiven. I sent one message. The table is beautiful, thank you, he replied. I will wait until I'm invited. That was the first boundary he honored without requiring explanation. 66, 6 months later. 6 months after Ryan's birthday, my house no longer looked like the background of someone else's family story. I painted the dining room green. I moved my office into the room with the best morning light. I replaced the large Mercer family portrait above the fireplace with a photograph of my parents laughing beside an old fishing boat. On Sundays, I invited people to dinner. Tessa came with her husband. Maya brought her daughter. A bakery owner I had helped during her first year brought cinnamon rolls. 2 women from my small business mentorship group came with their children. George was invited after 4 months. I did not arrive early. I did not assume his old room was available. He brought flowers and asked where he should sit. Anywhere, I told him. We ate around the round table. No one had a permanent place. No one was asked to serve before belonging. Mercer Millworks survived. Ryan reduced the company's size and began working beside his employees again. He paid every bill himself. I kept seeing Owen. Caleb entered Owen's life slowly after acknowledging paternity. Owen did not trade one father for another. Life was not that simple. Ryan remained the man who taught him to ride a bicycle, sand a board, and hold a flashlight steady beneath a sink. Caleb became another adult learning how to show up. Diane had no control over the arrangement. She moved into an apartment outside Nashville. For months, she told people George would return. I did not. Kelsey found a job at a furniture consignment store. She began at the register. Then she learned inventory. Every month she sent a repayment. The first was $100. The second was $150. After 6 months she sent one message. I understand now why you said to begin with what was mine. I replied, keep going. That was not forgiveness. It was recognition of effort. Ryan sent one handwritten letter after the divorce became final. He apologized without asking for another chance. He wrote that he had believed he was a good husband because he never cheated, never shouted, and always came home. I understood now that coming home meant little when he refused to protect the person waiting there. I placed the letter in a drawer. Some apologies deserve to be heard. They do not all require an open door. 17, my birthday. On my 42nd birthday, I woke before sunrise. Rain tapped against the roof. No one needed me to solve a crisis. No one had entered the house without permission. No one had rearranged the day inside a group chat that excluded me. I went downstairs and made coffee. A package waited on the kitchen counter. George had left it during his visit the day before. Inside was a dark blue linen apron. My initials were embroidered across the front. BH. Beneath it was a card. You were never the help. You were the heart of the home. The doorbell rang. Tessa stood outside holding a cake. Behind her were Maya, George, and several friends. Owen stood near the porch railing carrying a wooden box. Ryan waited beside his truck in the driveway. I did not approach the door. I did not assume he was invited. Owen walked up the steps. I made this, he said. Inside the box were 42 paper stars. On the first he had written, thank you for never blaming me. My eyes filled. I knelt in front of him. You never did anything wrong. I know, he said, but adults forget that sometimes. Yes, I whispered. They do. He hugged me. Over his shoulder I saw Ryan turn away and wipe his eyes. Owen went inside with the others. I walked toward Ryan. He held a paper cup of coffee. Happy birthday, he said. Thank you. I won't stay. I know. He looked toward the house. Dad said the new table is beautiful. It is. I'm glad. We stood in the quiet drizzle. I am still sorry, he said. I know. I'm trying to become someone Owen can respect. That is a good reason. He nodded. Take care, Becca. You too. Ryan returned to his truck. I watched him drive away. Then I went inside. The people I had invited were gathered around the round table. No one shared all of my history. No one shared my last name. Every person understood that being there was a privilege. Tessa lit the candles. Owen placed the paper stars around the cake. George laughed at something Maya said. No one moved my chair. There were no name cards. When everyone began singing, I looked around the table and finally understood something Diane never had. Family is not blood demanding a place. It is respect earning one. The night I untied my apron, I did not abandon my family. I stopped abandoning myself. So tell me, if your spouse gave your seat to an ex and asked you to serve the people erasing you, would you have walked out? Or would you have stayed one more night, hoping people who benefited from your silence would finally learn to respect you?